So anytime you have questions about Google Class, or if you have questions about homework, you can always email me. You can just email me, tom@itexps.com, and I can help you. So those who have done recent enrollment, and in case if you do not have Google Class, maybe you can talk to me later. I'll add you right away, so you will have a Google Class access. Now, just to give you an idea, every day we'll have a homework, right? Every day we'll have homework. So you can see here, week 1 homework is here, and majority students completed. At this moment, around 80% students have completed homework, which is kind of nice. Again, I encourage everyone, there is a 3 mode of the learning. One is the learning in a classroom. The second is called performing. When you do homework, it's called performing. So learning is always 60%. When you are attending the class, it's a 60% happen. But when you do homework, another 20% will happen, which is called performing. But when you do this 60% is good when you attend the class or you watch recording. Performing means you do now yourself, which is 20%. And the last one is called applying, which is internships or some volunteer work or some project work. So if you don't apply this concept, you will still have weakness. And that's why I always welcome people to do some volunteer activity, some project activity, maybe somewhere, maybe hobby project, but you have to apply. That apply part will boost your confidence. Learning will help you in interview questions and answers. Performing will improve your productivity because you are now knowing the concept very well. So remember, 3 steps happen. If you do learning, but if you don't do homework, you're missing. And when you do homework, but you're not applying, you're missing. So that's why the project, each and every class has a project where we encourage you to apply all your learning. When you do homework, you're building a piecemeal, right? But when you apply project, you are kind of connecting all things together. Make sense? Any questions so far? So far, any questions? Good. Again, every time I'm going to repeat these things, so making sure you have Google Class access. Now, today is our brand new day. So let's start with the agenda. So today we have very exciting things to cover. You may like it. So agenda is very simple. We want to cover different type of testing. So type of testing. Relax and enjoy. You don't have to take too much notes because everything I'm recording. And the second time you will have a similar homework coming to your way. So type of testing is actually a very important topic in your interview. I would say around 30+% questions will come from type of testing. If you ask me, you can spend your life and you will not be expert. It is so powerful topic, type of testing. I'm learning every day. Even I've been in IT industry for maybe 32 years, but I still learn it. It's super. It's just like a new learning happen every day. Different way you do testing. So we'll talk about type of testing. And once we cover like a theory part, we're going to cover about some kind of learning called HTML. In case if you have taken Agile class, we talk about web page, if you have seen that, or we mention about HTML page. We're going to cover our HTML page first. So you see the connections between this class and Agile class. Make sense or no? Because last class, we talked about a little bit 3-tier architecture, N-tier architecture and all, right? It was having connections in our Agile Scrum class. So those who are taking 2 classes, you get that relationship among the class because all the classes are connected. Very soon you will have database. Again, it will be connected. So it's very important. If time permits, you attend 2 classes at least once a week. But if you cannot, watch recording also. Make sense? So these are main topic we're going to cover. The third topic we're going to cover is a little bit about use case and test case. Remember, we will not be able to cover this topic 100%. But this is very important for next week. So next week, we're going to spend more time about this. But there is a homework coming to your way where I ask questions about use case and test cases because I want you to go slowly but steadily and understand the concept. Goal of the exercise today, our main focus of type of testing. Extremely important. I can personally think if you do this, if you know this thing, you can easily impress someone who is taking your interview, right? And then learning about web pages will increase your confidence about automation because sometimes people will ask, are you QA manual, right? QA manual versus automation. As soon as they use word automations, they have some expectation that you know certain technology. And one of the technologies is called web pages. Means web pages come with a lot of technology. However, you need to know at least basic aspects about HTML, about CSS, about JSON, about XML, about XPath, right? These are basic you need to know. Our focus tonight will remain HTML. Then next week, we're going to cover about JSON, XML. So that was day by day, we get better. Because if I teach all at once, it's just like a, what do you call, fire hose, right? I try, but you will not able to retain. So that's why we do weekly, okay? So you can digest the concept very well. The goal of the exercise, what we learn enough, so we don't have to repeat too many times. Make sense or no? So please ask questions in case if you are not very clear. But this is our agenda. Any questions for agenda? So if you are ready, start your computer. We're going to do first exercise because type of testing is super if you do participate actively. So make sure you start your computer. In case if you want to connect to the Wi-Fi, Infotech 123, you can connect to the Wi-Fi. Make sure your computer is ready so we can do the lab. Okay. This will be guaranteed questions. At least I would say 30% of your interview will be type of testing. Okay, these are basic, these are important, but you need to know how it works. So we're going to cover with the lab perspective. Make sure you connect to the internet. You don't need any software, just need a browser. So as long as you're connected with the internet, go to Google Chrome and we can get started. People on phone, please connect to the internet. Are you connected? Perfect. What's your name?
Margaret.
Margaret. Perfect. Thank you, Margaret. Everyone else? Good. So let's go to Google Chrome. I'm also going to go to Google Chrome and type this website called MindMap. 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 You can see on the screen and type correctly. Mind, M-I-N-D, mind, and map. Relax and enjoy. This exercise will take around 30 to 40 minutes, but you will learn a lot. You will learn a lot. Remember, the best way to learn is actively participate. Because we are human, right? While you're sitting here, you're thinking something else. But when you do the exercise, you're almost present. We call in moment, right? So you are there. So it's very important we do lab rather than just theory, right? So it's important. Mind map. Slowly and steadily, you will understand this tool. These are tools people use in interview. People use in a real life also. So it's important that you should be comfortable. The only thing you need to know is how to move mouse and how to do a couple of entry. But you will understand how it works. Okay? Mind map and then press enter. Mind map and press enter. Remember, it's mind map and press enter. You will see something like this. Make sense or not? Right? If you are able to see this, relax, don't do too far and too hard. Make sure you are following correctly. Relax. I'm not going to go too fast because I have enough time to cover this lab. But make sure you are able to type this URL in your browser, right? If you need help how to type and all, we can explain later. But then in that case, you watch the recording, right? MindMap, which is this best tool for anyone who has a question in your mind. Because right now we have a lot of questions, type of testing. What are the type of testings we have? And how this testing works? A lot of questions we have. We don't know all the answers. So when anything you start in your life, you start with the question, right? Why, what, how, where, when, start with the questions. Most people, what they do, they don't start with the question. They go and after 1 month or after 1 year ask question. Should I do it? Are you kidding? Right? Like many times, my kids, go to store and say, I don't like it. Why are we coming to Chipotle? If you don't like it, we should go to somewhere else, right? So question you should start before you act. Make sense or not? Trust me, industry like you when you ask question. But too many question is also not good. Meaningful question is extremely important. So example, if you ask basic question, people will label you that you are a beginner. If you ask profound question, people will label, man, this guy knows a lot more things. So question is good. At right time, right question you should ask. But you should not delay the question and ask later in the game. Like example, when I start this thing, right? After 20 minutes, somebody said, what did you type? That's not right, right? Because in that case, you did not pay attention. MindMap is the URL. It allows me to do free mind because our mind works in a graph form. Our mind doesn't work left to right or top to bottom. Our mind works in a graph form. When you are in industry, This kind of tools, most people don't know it. You should use it. Okay. So let's say you started the project, brand new project, new team members are there. No one knows what we are doing. So at that time, this is the right tool. Early stage of the project. Which stage? Early stage. But you cannot use this tool at the late stage in the project. Makes sense? Because today is our second class. It's a good idea to use such kind of tool. Now let's click on create a free map. There is a brown color box is there. Create a free map. And when you click on it, it will go in the middle. And click on the middle. Make sense? Relax and enjoy. So when you are here, please understand, this is the box where you will type. You will type here. Can I count everyone has a box here? So there are three things you need to understand. And you are good, you will be expert. And I'm hoping you will listen to me carefully. When you want to type, listen carefully. When you want to type something, you double click. You double click and start typing. Make sense? Rule number one is clear. You double click and start typing. Now, if you want to create a wings or branches, we do insert child. What we call insert child. So check it out. If I want to do, please pay attention, so you will not have tons of questions. If I want to create a wing or branch, I click this side, and then I can say insert child. Do you see that? This thing. If I do that, it will create an insert child. So like example, I select this thing, and then I click on insert child node, and it creates that. In case if you made a mistake, do Control Z. Control Z. Control Z. Control Z means undo. So if you do Control Z, undo. So far so good. The first rule is double click on it and start typing. That's the first rule. If you want to create a branch, you click here and do insert child. What are you going to do? Insert child. Insert child. The second thing is, let's say you create a branch here. You create a branch. You create a branch and you want to create a sibling like that in the same level. Same level. If you want to do same level, you just press 2 time enters. How many time enters? 2 time enters. So if you press 2 time enters, you can keep creating a branches sibling. Let me show you. Please don't do anything. Let me just show you. So I'm here. I want to create a branch. What am I going to do? Insert child. Very simple. Now I can say this is like A. And let's say if I want to do sibling, I press 2 time enters. How many time enters? 1 and 2. Very simple. 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 Right? And in case if I want to undo something, I'll do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Hold your control switch. Hold your control switch and you do Z. Make sense? Okay. So why don't you double click here? Double click here. Please everyone, double click here and write types of testing. Double click on it, types of testing. You will enjoy it. Trust me, more you learn, it becomes easier. One request I will strongly suggest, buy external mouse. If you don't have an external mouse, your speed will compromise. And the most important thing you will have problem is the wristband. Once this is damaged, there is no surgery after that. You will not be able to use this. There is no option here. Even Bill Gates says that each and every employee, first day Microsoft, they give you the mouse. Because this is important. Because you're going to work day in and night with computer. So you need to make sure you protect it. Because if you don't protect that, IT career is ending. Because agree on that. It is not like next day you become a right hand to left hand to right hand. It's kind of tough. So it's very important we protect it with $4. How much it costs? $4. And if you don't have it, let me know, I'll give you. But make sure you have external mouse. Next time I don't want, you come with the finger. That is the surfer. Surfer means they are not IT guys. IT guys need productivity. People are paying you for productivity. Make sense? Each and every tools, everything you use, make sure speed matters. Okay. So now types of testing. Now question is, when somebody said type of testing, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by types of testing? Different types of testing, right? So there are types of testing. So first question people will ask, when you do testing, what are the types of testing you have? So high level, there are 2 categories. High level, there are 2 categories. One is called FR. We call functional requirement testing. So it's called functional testing. Functional requirement, we call functional testing. I'll explain. And one is called NFR. NFR stands for non functional requirement. So of course you will say non-functional testing. Now you said, can you explain me what is that functional means? So very simple thing. If you are using a phone, right? If you are using a phone, and anytime you use phone, anytime you're using a phone, if you are doing something as a user, then it's called function. So example, I can take a picture, I can do text, I can serve, I can do all. So anytime you're doing something, you as a user, it's called function. So example, if I drive car, if I'm moving my steering, can you call it function or not? Yeah. Function. When I start my radio, am I doing function? Yes. Am I starting blueprint, blueprint or your cassettes, CD, anything you are doing, action, you as a user, you're doing something. Makes sense or not? If you're applying gas or if you're applying pedal like brake, if you're doing reverse, you're doing action. Make sense? If user is involved, functionality. Make sense or not? So let's talk about it. When I go to Amazon, if I do product search, functionality or not? Yes. Right? If I go to Google and if I do search, functional or non-functional? Very simple. Are we clear? So anytime I add something, anytime I change something, anytime I click something, anytime I update something, delete something, I am the user. I do it. If I don't do it, nothing will happen. Make sense? So functional perspective customer is required. Make sense? So that's called functional testing. So let's click here and start typing. Double click and start typing functional. Sorry, by mistake. If it happens, this thing, just close that. Don't worry about this thing. So if it happens, you just do Control Z. Anytime you happen this thing, let me just remove this thing. But this sometimes comes up. So just click on that. So it will hide that. Like that. So I click here and I do insert child. Let me repeat. I click here, right? And I do insert child. And then I start typing. So here I say functional test. And then press 2 time enters. How many time enters? 2 times. 1 and 2. So that's called non-functional. Now you can say, I understand functional testing, but I don't know about non-functional testing, right? So functional testing has user involved, user or customer, whatever you call it, user or customer involved. Then non-functional is completely reverse. User and customer is not involved. Makes sense or not? User and customer is not involved. Makes sense or not? So example, if you apply, let's say gas, right? User is involved. So when you apply gas, user is involved. But when you apply gas, how fast car should go? You can say it's depend. So some car will go zoom, 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 right? Mazda or Lamborghini, zoom, right? Instantly it will go. One will go like slow. My car goes very slow, right? Because no matter how much I press, it goes really slow. So when system react based on user, speak with me. System react based on user is called non-functional. So example, when you search, have you ever understand? When you search in Google, let me just show you so you can see, you can feel it. I go to Google, you don't have to do anything, relax. So I go here, my Google, there you go. So I'm in Google and I'm searching right now, let's say basketball. So when I search it, how fast I get result? How fast? Does I have control? No, user doesn't have control, but system has control. In this case, system is Google. Makes sense or no? Now let's go to Yahoo. Which system we are talking about? Yahoo. Now when I search here, let's say example, Tesla stock. When I search and I press enter, now it see how long it takes. I know it is taking around a second. But that second, I don't have control. Who has control? System. When system has a control or system does certain thing, it's called NFR. What is N stands for? Non-functional requirement. So there are 2 types of requirement you will be spending all the time. One is the functional and one is non-functional. Any questions so far? So far, so good?
So can non-functional testing be also called system testing?
Yes. Yes. Non-functional testing called system testing because you are talking about system. We're going to cover in detail. Okay, this is just a starting point. Now, when you say QA manual, right? When you say QA manual, you may be doing testing both of them, but heavily you are testing this side. Now, as Aman mentioned about it, some of you might be working with hardware. Hardware means product, physical product. So example, I have a couple of students who are working on a medical industry where they check physical product. So example, injections, example, some medical parts. They are actually doing more non-functional testing. So even you have any experience like that, you're fine. Now we do proctoring here. We are doing proctoring. Proctoring means we do exam monitoring. So when you do proctoring, we use both type of thing. Like we do software, and we also monitor our individuals are not cheating, right? So that is also called testing. But if human is involved, in that case we call functional. And if sometimes our system, because our system is working, our exam movement, certain time, when you click the button and the question is not refreshing. So that is also called non-functional. Make sense or not? So wherever you are going, you are doing testing. So example, at your house, someone is preparing food. If somebody is preparing a food and then you're eating the food, you are saying, hey, it's not good, right? So you're doing testing. In that case, you're doing product testing. Speak with me.
Product testing.
So product testing, maybe it can be a food or it can be a physical device. So we are, by default, we are testing because we like and we don't like, because agree or not. But we don't say, I don't have a QA experience. You do have a QA experience from by default. Because when you're driving car, if you have 5 cars and you like one car, means you tested all car and you like other car. Make sense? Just like you like it, you want our customer also should like it. Because you are in between developer and customer. When you qualify this is good quality car, it means customer may like it. Sounds good so far? Okay. Now in functional testing is quite depend on use case. So let's click here, and then you can click on insert child like that and write use case. Now you say, but I don't know what use case means. I'll explain. So use case is nothing but use in English. Use means I'm using it, and case means when I'm using it. So think about it. I go to ATM machine. Please relax. Learning should not be tough, neither learning should be very stressful. Learning should be straight sugar. It should go straight in, right? Just like a sugar. When you're having sugar, within a 2 seconds, you feel good, yes or no? Like example, Coca-Cola, right? We drink, it's nothing but it's a sugar. It makes magic, right? Same thing, learning should be like that. So let's say I go to ATM. How many of you have seen ATM? Everyone, at least, right? After maybe 5 years, maybe not, right? But ATM. So ATM has a small screen, and there may be some buttons here. Yes or no? Now, what are those buttons? Numbers. And then there should be a digital options available. So here, some digital options available also, some options. What are those options?
Checking.
Very good. So check status. One option will be check status. Yes or no? One may be withdraw money. One may be deposit money, right? One may be transfer money. Do you guys agree or not? There are options available. Do you agree? So these options are your use case. So if I go to ATM, maybe I want to withdraw money. So what is my use case?
Withdraw money.
Again,
Withdraw money.
one day I have $100. I want to deposit. So what is my use case? Deposit. Sometimes, when I was young, when I came here, every day I was checking ATM. That because it was free. One thing is free, was checking status, nothing increased. Same money remained, right? No matter how many times I check, but I wanted to learn. Trust me, I never seen ATM before. So for me, I'm touching and I'm feeling good. So when I go to ATM and if I do check status or check balance, what is that called? Use case, right? So the use case. So you can see here there are many use case ATM provide or functionality. Use case is nothing but functionality. ATM provide many use cases. You can withdraw money, you can deposit money, you can transfer money, or you can check status. Makes sense? So if somebody asks use case, that is very important for you to understand. Do you agree? Because if I don't know how am I going to use system, then how do I know how am I going to test the system? Do you guys agree or not? So bank manufacture ATM machine. Make sense? And that ATM machine is used by account holder. Yes or no? So account holder is a customer. Do you guys agree or not? Account holder is customer and the bank is the manufacturer. Now in between, they want to make sure the ATM is working or not. So there are two people come in picture. Please understand. So now bank is want to manufacture ATM machine. Right? Bank is want to manufacture ATM machine. So first bank will work with the BA, business analyst. This will be a question in your interview as well as in homework. Business analyst will say what you want to add in this ATM machine, the functionality. So BA will understand functionality, which is called FR, functional requirement. Functional means what user can do with this system. What user can do with the system. So business is going to talk to BA. BA means business analyst. So business analyst will write down those details. And when they write down that detail, that called functional requirement is known as a use case. Now, if I ask who write use case? Business analyst. QA never write use case. Let me make it clear. QA never write use case. But who writes use case? BA writes. When they write? Early stage of the project. When one bank person is ready to give requirement, and that requirement is called functional requirement. Functional requirement means I want ATM does this. I want ATM does this. ATM should be able to transfer, ATM should be able to deposit, ATM should be able to withdraw, check status. Now, check status itself is not enough. Yes or no? So the detailed requirement, BA writes it. So for circuit, when they write, they use a document. They use a document. In this document, they write so many things. We'll cover next week. But that use case document is your starting point as a QA. So if you are joining QA role, you must know how to read use case document. If you do not know how to read use case document, you do not know what are the functionality we implemented. Example, if I'm hired by Apple and say, taste it, and they give me phone, what would be the natural question?
What are the requirements?
What are the requirements? Now they will say, why don't you go and talk to BA? Or why don't you read use case document? Speak with me, use case document. So now you read use case document and you see there are 5 functionality. You can do texting, you can do camera, you can do video, you can do surfing. So now you know the requirement. So now you need to do testing. Yes or no? If you do not know requirement, trust me, you cannot do good job as a QA. Are we clear? So you see how dependent you are with the BA. If BA doesn't do good job, will you be successful? Answer is no. Just blank no. There is no way you can be successful. So can you work with BA or can you fight with BA?
Work with BA.
If let's say BA did only 3 things, but you realize that there is a 4th thing should be there. Listen carefully. Here in ATM, BA did a requirement check status, deposit, and transfer. But BA forgot withdraw. And you think, hey, if somebody add money, they might be able to withdraw also. I forgot. That's called gap analysis. Speak with me. Gap analysis means when BA does the work, doesn't mean he or she will do awesome job. So our goal is to help BA. Oh, you missed that. And when you do that, you're improving quality. Do you guys agree or not? This kind of testing is called document analysis testing. Speak with me. Document analysis. So now you're going to click on use case, right? Click on use case, and then you're going to do insert child. And you're going to say document analysis testing. Now, you don't have to do anything. Just read the document and just say that, did you understand? Are you having completeness? Means everything is there. Is there anything is not correct? Incorrect is there. So if it is complete, is it complete or is incomplete? It's correct or incorrect. If it is vague or clear, such kind of thing you will discuss about. Now, if you have never done document analysis, then what will happen? You are assuming BA does awesome job. But I can tell you, there is no perfect in the world. Because agree or not? There is no perfect person. Because when you become perfect, there is no improvement. Do you guys agree on that? It's all improvement opportunity. It's all improvement opportunity. Means whatever somebody did, which BA did, if you review it, you will provide some feedback. And then you will make it better and better. Make sense or not? So document analysis is important. Now you say, but how do I know? Very simple. Just learn how use case work. We'll cover next. But without use case, you cannot move forward. So document analysis testing means read the document. So when you join any project, a project is already started, BA already done a document, and you are joining after 3 months, what would be the first thing you will do? You're joining after 3 months. Document analysis. First thing you can say, hey guys, is there any project document? Can you give me? It means people will give you architecture document, people will give you functional requirement, people will give you. And those documents you have to read. Now, those who are doing multitasking, you may not be able to focus because every word matters. So when you read documentation, what are the things will come to your mind? Questions. I'm not understanding, right? It's even though it's there, I'm not understanding because in America, we use certain words. The one word, it took me 2-3 years to understand. Knock your socks off. When I was in Chrysler, they use this word, knock your socks off. And I said, what does that mean? I translate knock socks off. And it was so awkward for me. I said, why if somebody touch socks? Why they want to remove? But then I realized it, have fun, right? That's the meaning. So that's the idiom. Now, if that is there, and if you don't understand, please ask question. Sometimes people write POC. POC. What is POC means? You don't know. It's called proof of concept. Proof of concept means something you are just doing for trial purpose. So POC means proof of concept. Now, I don't know. I have to ask. So when you read document, you will have a question. First, you are not understanding. Second, you think there is a gap, which is the gap analysis. Make sense or not? Or you say, hey, can you walk me through my understanding is same? Like example, this is what I understood. You're offering this 4 functionality. Is that right? So that's called correctness. Make sure your understanding is understood by BA also. We want to make sure we are on same page. Are we clear? Document analysis. Good. Now, after you do document analysis, press 2 time enter, 1 and 2, or maybe 1. You can get that way. Then you start writing test cases. Start writing test cases. Now, when you write test cases, your test cases normally come from use case. Or if you're in Agile, it comes from story. It comes from story acceptance criteria. Story acceptance criteria. Now, what is story acceptance criteria? And I'll cover that in a few minutes. But you will start with use case only because use case cover functional requirement. So functional requirement has 2 forms. One is a waterfall. So if you're in waterfall, you are going to get a document. So in waterfall, you get document. And the document is use case document. And if you're in Agile, you normally get stories. And in story, you will have acceptance criteria. So that is your starting point. So if you are joining any project, you need to understand what flavor we are using, waterfall or Agile. Waterfall, we talked about last week, those who have watched recording, you may know, waterfall means long stages, like 3 months, 6 months, like that. In Agile, is like 2 weeks time frame. So it's kind of easier to work in Agile than waterfall. But no matter what you do, you start with the functional part, which is BA has written. So far, so good. So now question in your interview. If you have a use case or you have a story, please understand. If your use case or your story, one use case or one story, how many test cases you can have? Sorry? Many. So one use case can have many test cases. Why? Let me explain. Let me go to Bank of America. So I am in a Bank of America. Now, whenever I say use case, it's nothing but functionality. So here, let's talk about one single functionality. What is this functionality called? This is called login. Do you guys agree or not? This is called login functionality. So if I want to test login, what are the ways I can test? What are the ways I can test?
Correct username, correct password.
First test case.
Empty.
Mhm.
Correct username, wrong password. And wrong username, correct password.
So let's start here. So please pay attention. Here, first test case is username and password. Let's do. So first is username is correct, password is correct. Second use case is username is correct, password is incorrect. Third use case is username is correct, password is correct. Third one is incorrect. Fourth is empty, right? Fifth one is try empty 3 times and see account log. Make sense or not? So you can see that one use case. When we write, BA writes, he's going to write only one use case. That user will enter, user will do this, user will do this, and user will click login. So when BA writes, he has 2 flow. Listen carefully. When BA writes, he will say user will enter login, user will enter password. If successful, then they will go to the next page, which is called account profile. If it is successful, they will go to account profile. But if it is not successful, then it will have an error message here. So BA will only write 2 flow. One, if it is success, what will happen? And if it is error, what will happen? So from BA perspective, there are 2 scenarios. Speak with me. 2 scenarios. Sometimes use case is also known as a scenario. Scenario means series of steps. Scenario means series of steps. What user does and what system does. So let me show you. So user type Bank of America. User type Bank of America in the browser. Who does? User does. And when I press enter, what system does? System is going to show this page, home page. Yes or no? Now user is going to type username and user is going to type password. And user is going to click on login. If I have correct username, correct password, what will happen? I will go to the next page. But if I enter incorrect username or incorrect password, what should I expect?
Error.
I will have an error page. Yes or no? This is like step which I document. Those are use case steps. In use case steps, some clue will be there. But as a QA, you have to think beyond. You have to think beyond. Because BA is not a QA. BA is not a QA, but you have a gift. You have a gift. You're going to think about various permutations. Correct username, correct password, incorrect username. And you will do that. When you do all those things, these are test cases. So one use case can have many test cases. Are we clear? Good. So that part is clear. Now let's back to business. Stop me anytime if you have questions. So now in test cases also to insert child. Insert child. And here, first you will write.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was a little lost in when you were explaining what happens in the waterfall method and what happens in the agile method. Like you used, you get a waterfall document in the waterfall method?
Yes, the document is use case document. You will get use case document. In agile, you will get stories, and inside story, you will get acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria. Again, we will cover in deeper next week because next week is the documentation aspects. I just want to cover different type of testing, but your starting point is document. It can be in waterfall use case document. In agile, it's a story, but you will get it. You will get from the necessary people. In your case, maybe a manager or maybe someone like a BA or product owner. They will give you that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. In test cases, when you start. But first day when you start test cases, you are going to document test cases. Now you use tool called Excel or you use tool called Jira. So this is something you must know in order to work as a QA. Most companies use Excel, but there are companies use Jira. The reason people use Excel because it's easy to add, easy to update like that. But some companies use Jira. There are other tools out there, but if you do not know these 2 tools, then you cannot go forward. These tools are kind of universally accepted. You will find almost 100% companies using this, right? There are companies use like a special tool, but their tools are very similar as Jira or Excel. So tool-wise, you need to know Excel and Jira. If somebody asks in interview which tool you use to write a test case, don't say I use PowerPoint. It means it looks like you're awkward because most companies are using Excel or Jira. So just say Excel or Jira. So far so good. Now in test cases, because you are doing user use case perspective, your test case is by default called functional test cases because you are starting from functional. Make sense or not? Now, click here in test cases, click on that and do insert child. Now here, we are going to do first test called white box testing. White box test. Now, what is white box testing will cover? I'm going to cover each and every test cases. So you will have smooth ride. We have small video also, which you will watch it and you do the homework, but white box testing. So now white means something you know, like you are here, right? You are here. And now you're testing Bank of America. Bank of America is, in your case, it is a system. You're testing Bank of America where you are testing login. Now, after you enter username and password, you might be calling some program, which we call service. And then you might be going through the database. So if you know in and out, then it's called white box testing. So example, if you enter correct username and correct password, you know where you will go. You also know who is routing there to the next page. You know that, which program is routing to. So you also know which database you're checking username and password. So you know in and out. In that case, it's called white box testing. So let me explain. You call 847-350-9034, which is itexps. Now, when you call it, if your call is answered by Harish, you may know that where he is maybe in Shambhala. Let's say your call is answered by maybe Rina, and you know it's display. You already know based on person who is answering, all kind of things. In that case, it's the white box testing. But let's say if I call and you have no idea who's answering from where, then it is called black box testing. Now, when you start, you may not know in and out. Do you agree on that? So which one would be preferred, black box or white box? Black box. Because you don't know anything when you start, right? It will take a while for you to understand in and out. So if you start a brand new project, it is very easy to do black box testing. Make sense or not? Black box testing means I don't need to know everything, but as Mahasweta mentioned, that if I enter correct username and correct password, I'm supposed to go to the next page. How am I going to the next page? I don't need to know. If I enter incorrect username and incorrect password, I should get an error message. Do you agree or not? So I will be very superficial, but that is good for early stage. Make sense or not? But as I go further, would it be good idea that I know in and out, or I remain superficial? In and out, right? And in and out means white box testing, and superficial means black box testing. Make sense or not? Any questions so far? So let's write click here and press enter, and you can say black box testing. Now, please understand, white box testing also is considered as a exploratory testing. Explore. Please pay attention. Never do multitasking. Give me 3 hours of your life. Don't do multitasking, because after 2 minutes, what did you take? And these kind of things will bring you no problem. But these words are important. In interview, they hardly ask 6-7 questions. White box testing is also considered as called exploratory testing. It's like example, if I want to see is this room is good or not. So I just see eyeballs. I kind of move my eye and see that that's good, that's not. So that's called exploratory testing. It means I'm exploring. I don't have to use tools. Instantly I can test it out. So example, when you are in case if you're rental car, if you've ever taken rental car, many of you might have taken rental car. If you take a rental car, the guy will give you key and he said, make sure you check, observe, and if there is a scratch or if there is a ding, write down. So you just walk. Hardly it will take a minute and you're done with the testing. Do you agree or not? But can you spend like 2 days to test that? Because there's a purpose for that testing. You hardly have 1 minute or 10 minutes. So you explore. So you explore in the sense of you explore as a human. You just move your mouse and in your eyes and just check it. Everything is good. That's called white box testing. You're really not checking engine. You're not checking transmission. You're not doing just outside surface. If there is scratch, if there is noticeable problem, that's all. So white box testing is also known as a exploratory testing. So far, so good. When should I use those testing? When should I use exploratory testing or white box testing?
When you know in and out.
Or initial, or I don't know anything. It is also possible I don't know anything, or I have limited time. If I have limited time, I cannot do all testing. So far, so good. Now in the white, let's say after that, you can say, no, I have more detail. So you are going to white box testing. Now inside that, you click on that and do insert child. Insert child here. So click here and insert child. And in this, you have different type of testing. One is unit testing. Press 2 enters and then say component testing. 2 enter and then say integration testing and system testing. 2 enters, remember, easy, right? You first do and then 2 enters. You cannot go easier than that, right? Very simple. Now, as a human nature, when you start something, always start with a tiny test. So anything you do is tiny, always tiny, like a very simple, small piece you test, which is called unit. So example, if you want to inspect entire house, rather than focusing on entire house in the early stage, maybe you focus one room. Just take one room and test it out. That once you complete that room, then you may want to test another room and test it out. So when you combine these 2 rooms, the first test is when you test only one room, it's called unit testing. But when you combine 1 and 2 rooms, because there is a common wall, then that becomes a component testing. And when you keep adding the rooms and slowly complete like this kind of thing, it is called integration testing. Now, when we say integration testing, so if you remember last week, we talked about 3-tier architecture. We have database, right? Then we have application server, yes or no? And then there is a web server. There is a web server. And then we had a cloud, right? And then there is a user, right? So when you test from here to here, when you test here to here, what do you call it? This is integration testing. What do you call? Integration testing. So integration testing means everything. You're testing end to end. But let's say if your job is only test this thing, then it is called unit testing. It is possible that there are multiple tables are there, and you're combining that, so you can also consider as a component testing, but you will not use as integration testing because you're still testing in a one section. Make sense or no? But then you combine these and then you test this thing together. So you can say component testing because you are now combining 2 pieces. Integration testing, also known as end-to-end testing. This is the word people use, end-to-end. Speak with me. End-to-end. Don't use word, don't read this thing E to E. What do you call? End-to-end. Because this is like nomenclature. Nomenclature means everyday people speak. End-to-end testing means from start to end. Now, when we say system testing means all component involved, not only end-to-end, but like example, you are testing Amazon. Along with Amazon, you're also testing JP Morgan because that integration, FedEx or UPS, you're testing everything. When you're testing everything, then it's called system testing. So which one is the biggest testing? Integration or system testing? And which one is the smallest testing? Unit
testing.
So unit testing you do, the focus is only tiny. Instantly you should be able to test it because it's very tiny. Component testing is also a little bit bigger than unit testing, but still doable. So let's say if you have one day to test, you most likely you will be doing unit testing. But if you want to do integration testing, it may take a weeks because it is a bigger effort. System testing may take a couple of weeks or a month also. Make sense? Now, if you are working on a project and every day you have to test, every day, which one would you do every day? Unit testing. Unit testing you do every day. Once unit is passed, and then you will do another unit testing. When they pass, you do component testing. Make sense? Then again unit testing, then again component testing. Unit testing and then component testing. And once that is done, then you do integration testing. So the question, if unit testing fail, would you do integration testing?
No.
No, common sense, right? And people say, I don't know. How can you don't know? It's one test. One thing is, which the smallest unit is not working, you cannot go to bigger testing. So when you are doing such kind of testing, your life, which is the QA life, majority spend time will be here. 80% time you will be spending here. So far, so good. Now, unit testing, you must know. Now, unit testing also done two ways, manual and automated. So manual means you do click, 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 click. That's you do manually. But if you are doing programmatically, then it's automatic. Now, which one is better? It's subjective. It's subjective. It's not like always manual is good and unit is automation is bad, or it's not automation always good and unit is bad. Manual is bad. If you have limited time, then you may want to do manual. So, example, when I come to this office, I just check the room is there, power is there, everything I check, and I make sure everything is good very quickly. But I do manual. I don't have any automated way. Can I do automated? Yes, but it will cost me more. Do you guys agree or not? So sometimes you want to do trade-off. Speak with me. Trade-off. Value versus effort. Speak with me. Value versus
Effort.
value versus effort. Means if it is taking a lot more time, maybe I need to have a super program, which is electrician program and other thing to check everything, which is sometimes not worth because it may cost me $10,000. But manual it will take like just like I can move my eyes and boom, within a minute I can test it, and it's not going to cost me money. So time and effort, value and offer perspective, I say okay, I will do manual testing. But in my testing center, we do certain things a lot more. Let me repeat, certain things we do a lot more. Lot more means every student we do, every day we do. In a day we do 100 exams. In a month we do 3,000 exams. And every day I do. We used to do manual. But during COVID, I realized, man, I teach Selenium. I can do better, right? So I did one day, Sunday, I got a program, Python Selenium, in my testing center. So when I was talking about volunteer, it's not just testing center, it's Selenium. One day I'll show you those who come. Everything automated. Those human we used to have 6, 7 people just clicking, doing this work, complete automated. So what I'm trying to do here is everything is automated. Everything in my testing center is Python with Selenium, Python with Selenium, because I teach. Why did I do that? Because 36,000 exam you do, if I spend 5 minutes, you multiply that, it's 150,000 plus minute. Yes or no? If you divide by 60, we are still talking about 20,000 plus hours. And if you pay $15, we are talking about $300,000 salary, right? A lot of money. It's worth to do automation. Do you guys agree or not? And this is just 1 year. If you multiply by that, 600,000. Multiply by that, 900,000. Multiply that, it's $1 million. So that automation is worth to save $1 million. Do you guys agree or not? That's why Selenium comes in picture. When things are repetitive, things are in scale. You are doing US, Europe, China, India, because you might have a customer everywhere. And if you want to test multiple times and frequently, then automation is important. Clear? So when you do automation, every angle automation can be done. Unit test, component testing, integration testing, and system testing. Automation can be done. Make sense or not? Any questions so far? You're understanding? Now, click here in unit test and do insert child. Now here, when you click here and do insert child, you write here J unit, press enter, test ng, press enter, and menu. So normally, these are the tools people use. J unit stands for Java unit. You don't need to know in and out right now. Just know the word is Java unit. Test ng is nothing but test new generation. This is coming from Google. These are very powerful for unit testing. So whenever you go into industry, people will say, which tool did you use? So once we complete the QA manual, I'll cover this tool. Make sense? So this tool will help you to automate the unit testing. Ideally, you should not do manually, because you're going to repeat over and over. So it can do automation. So J unit is called Java unit, and test ng is called test new generation coming from Google, and manual is always an option. Make sense or not? Now, In integration testing, click here. In integration testing and insert child, normally people use a couple of software. So here, first software is Selenium, very powerful. Other software people use called UFT. Other software people use UFT. Another top software people use called Postman. Another software people use called SOAP UI. Now, you don't need to know in and out. I always tell people, don't be scared when I explain something. How many of you know Sydney? How many of you know Sydney? It's okay to speak a little bit. How many people know? What is Sydney means? It's city in Australia. Have you been there? No, but you know it, yes or no? Same thing. Same thing. If somebody asks, do you know the tools? If you don't answer, if you say, I don't know, that's a bad thing. Once you know the tool. So tool-wise, I will teach Selenium, that's for sure. So Selenium is very important tool you got to know in order to do integration testing. Integration testing also sometimes known as an end-to-end testing. Now, UFT is very expensive. Only company use those companies who are using C# or Microsoft product. C# or Microsoft product, because this is very expensive product. So people slowly get rid of it. So everyone is moving towards Selenium. Postman and SOAP UI, this is a very important tool for web service testing. Web service testing. Web service testing. Now, because this cloud, because we are using cloud, these are the tools become more popular. Web service testing. So we are going to introduce this new class very soon, web service testing, very special class. We're going to introduce web service testing. It is very simple tool, but these are getting more popular because more companies are going towards cloud. Now, these specific tools have a special testing called web service testing. Majority testing you can do here. I would say 80% of testing you can do with Selenium, but there is one thing called API testing. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Application Programming Interface, or we call web service. I'm going to cover in a few minutes. That testing, these tools are super duper popular. Means if you don't have in your resume, and if they are looking, they will not even call you. But now you know what I'm talking about. You just add those words, just like Sydney. You know Sydney? You say yes. Have you been in? No. It's okay. But you know Sydney. You are more knowledgeable than the person who's going to say, I don't know what Sydney means. Makes sense or not? Anytime some words help you, read about it. We do have videos. I can happy to provide you videos. We have a lot of videos which you can do it. It is easy to understand. You are going to spend maybe 10% or 15% of your time there. However, you know 80%, but here you use word no, you lost the value of that 80%. If you say yes and just read a little bit about it, you will have more understanding. Make sense? Now let me explain what is this API and web service testing in a picture, so it will be very helpful. Relax. The concept is, in a real life, everything is going to be in a cloud. In a real life, everything is going to be in a cloud. You guys agree or not? Now, cloud, by default, cloud will have a database, cloud will have an application server, and cloud will have web server. Makes sense or not? Now, normally what you do as a user, you're kind of using computer through web server as Amazon.com. Yes or no? Amazon.com, Facebook.com, like that. But when you're using your phone, your phone really is not like that. Your phone is bypassing browser. So your phone is directly going to the application server. So it is going to application server where logic is happening. And your phone, rather than getting UI means user interface, your phone is normally getting data. You're getting data, and the data is coming from the database. So data is coming from database. So right now, your phone get data. So example, this data which you have, your phone gets it, and then your phone displays the data. So now, how it happens? Because the data which you are receiving here, this call your phone is doing in the morning when you do weather report. When you do weather report, your phone is making a call for web service to get the data. That's all. Web service is only for data. So for this kind of testing, you need a Postman or SOAP UI. If you do not have this tool, you cannot test this data. It's hard to test data because you need to write a program. This is designed for testing web service. So there is a difference between web service and web application. In web application, you are using through browser. You as a human, you interact with the browser. So like Bank of America and all, you are kind of interacting, right? You are clicking, you are entering. So that's the user does. But here you're using web browser. You're using web browser. But in a web service, you're actually making call to this one. And this point is called API, Application Programming Interface, or we call web service. The reason they do that, many people can call like this. So when you use Google search, there is an API associated. When you use like Netflix, there is an API associated. Every company are now going on API. There is a benefit of that. That API can be consumed, listen carefully. API can be consumed by browser, which is one time, but API can be consumed by other customers, by applications, which is another time. So if you write API, you can use n times. If you write API, you can use n times. You are not tied with the browser. You are allowing other people to use that benefit. Makes sense or not? Now, do I need to know how API works in and out? No. But if as a QA, you have to ask question, do you have browser-based application or your web services? So if somebody say I have 10 web services, it means they're offering 10 different API, which you need to test it. Now 10 API means what? You need to test those API, what request you need to send and what response you need to do. What request you need to send and what request you need to do, a response you need to do. So example, in your Google, you are searching something called I want basketball. So that is your request and you are getting the data. When you search basketball, what you get? When you search TV, what you get? And the tool which I'm talking about, Postman and SOAP UI, does amazing job there. So that is where this tool comes in picture. So sometimes if you see job description, they will say that a cloud web service tester or web service tester needed. Web service or API tester means they're talking about Postman and SOAP UI. You have to know that. If you don't know, read about it. But Selenium is most used for web application or mobile application. Most people use Selenium across because Selenium has a lot of goodies. You can use for mobile testing, you can use a browser testing, you can use some of the other web service testing also, but web service testing, Postman and SOAP UI is #1 tool in the market. So far, so good. Any questions? So when I say web service, what thing comes in your mind? What thing comes in your mind? Web service. Web means internet and service means program. Where you send the request, you get the response. You send the request and you get the response. Web service. You send the request and you get the response, but you don't see the page. What do you get? Data. Speak with me.
Data.
Just get a data, then it's a web service. You may not be able to test like manually because it is just data. So you need a tool, and there are two tools are very popular: SOAP UI and
Postman.
Now back to our. Now, when you do integration testing here, there are cases like you want to do like integration testing where, let's example, listen carefully. You have a system called Amazon.com, right? Your system called Amazon.com. Now you are testing everything. Listen carefully. You tested everything and everything passed. Now your development team, please understand, your development team, they are working on something new functionality. They are working on new functionality. So they are now adding a new work and they are asking you to test new work. So when you have this kind of requirement, listen carefully. You are old here. Please pay attention. This is a very important question in your interview. This is the old, the system is working and there is a new coming. So now you will have one environment where you bring old and new. Do you guys agree or not? Which we call hybrid. Hybrid means you have old content and on top of that you did new. So old plus new. So QA has to test this thing. Do you guys agree or not? So when you do QA testing here, there's a special type of testing you do, which is called regression testing. Speak with me. Regression testing. Regression testing means Regression testing means you added new things. So here you added new things. So like example, you added 5 new things. How many added? 5. And here you have 5,000. How many things you added? 5,000. Would you test all 5,000? Yes or no? No. You shouldn't be testing 5,000. So example, if I change the lights in this room, what did I change? Lights in this room. Would I check all the rooms or this room? Right? Let's say I change this wall. If I change this wall, then I need to check this room and I also need to check other room. Yes or no? So that's called impact area. Speak with me. Again, impact area. So if they have changed 5 things, then we need to say what are the things going to be impacted by this change. And you will be testing only those impact area. And that is called regression testing. Very important question in interview. People will ask, what is regression testing means? So regression testing means you see the new change where they are impacting. If they are impacting logging, then I'll check logging. If they're impacting in a email functionality, then I'll check the email functionality. I have to check. Now you say, but how do I know impact area? Partner with developer. Partner with developer. They will help you. Or you have done test casing prior, so you can understand it. But if you don't know, question. Whom you're going to get question? Developer. Developer can tell you, hey, I made a change. Most likely I may have impact in this area. More impact you have, more regression test you need to do. Compared to end-to-end testing, regression will take less time. Why? Because you are checking only certain cases, not all cases. Make sense or not? Make sense? Yeah. Do you remember in a COVID time, lockout was happening? Yes or no? And lockout was happening based on hotspot. Do you guys know? Like example, hotspot. It means this area, people are not allowed. Or you're not allowed to exchange the area. Why? Because it's a regression testing. Because if you allow everyone everywhere, then impact area will be continuously increasing. It means COVID test and COVID control will be very tough. Yes or no? Why we close the border? We want to minimize the regression testing. Because otherwise COVID testing will become a nightmare. So when you impact area is less, testing can be done faster. So they kind of control with the lockout. Make sense? Some certain cities, certain state are kind of locked down, means you cannot go or cannot switch. The reason we do that is same thing. So COVID testing is also a QA concept, regression testing. So far, so good. Any question with respect to regression? I can give you written guarantee. People will ask you in interview regression testing. Why? Because when you start, you are starting with slowly building, and then you are working product. And every 3 months or every 6 months, you're making change. Every 6 months, you will need to do regression testing. Make sense or no? Okay. So we talk about regression testing. Yes.
So if you have done regression testing, would you say you have done white box testing?
No, because white box testing is like a very high level. Regression testing is actually end to end. So you cannot do white box testing means you don't know anything, right? Sorry, my mistake. Yeah. White box testing means like you are doing this thing, but white box testing you do very fast. Regression testing means you're very thorough. You're thorough. So white box testing include here and here. Make sense or no? Because you are doing this, you are knowing what's happening. Listen carefully. You are knowing what you are happening, but your intention is to do testing much faster. But when you are doing regression testing, you want to make sure you know in and out, but at the same time, you want to see every part of the impact area is tested. White box testing may not cover that. Because white box testing means what you're going to do, high level exploratory testing type of thing you're going to do very quickly. You don't know how long will it take, what are impact area, because here you don't worry about impact area. In regression testing, you will find this area is impacted, this area is impacted, this area is impacted, this area. So you're going to pick this area and you're going to test it, not every. White box testing blindly does testing like this, but it will cover entire testing. White box testing means time will be like less than 1 hour, less than 5 minutes, like that. But in regression, you will spend a really good time because you're going to do thorough testing. Make sense or not? Thorough testing. Because if regression failed, white box testing does not give you like a feeling. Because people say, oh, it did in 15-minute testing. Regression will give you confidence because you have spent 1 hour, 1 day or 2 days, thorough testing. So regression testing, system testing, integration testing, these are thorough testing. It takes time, real good time. You're going to run hundreds of test cases. In white box testing or black box testing, you are not going to run hundreds of test cases. You will run like 5-10 test cases because your goal is to speed rather than quality. Make sense? Because you want to go faster. So far, so good. Now, there are a few testing I want to make sure you understand. So integration testing we normally do when you are starting the system first time. After first time, you will do regression testing. Regression testing you only do when you introduce change. Make sense or no? So far, so good. Now, let's say you did a change. And the way in a real life it works, please pay attention. In real life works, developer write their code in a developer environment. So they use their server. The server we call dev server or dev environment. Developer does all the work in a dev environment. So think about that. If I do my work in my laptop, that's called dev environment. When they complete their work and testing, it will come to another environment called QA environment. The QA environment means you come in picture, and here you do regression testing or integration testing or white box testing. You do testing here. Make sense? When you do that, then you are going to the next environment called UAT environment. UAT, user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing normally happen with the customer. Customer means the customer, like example in your case, maybe product owner, maybe business analyst. So customer is involved. They are going to do testing. Please pay attention. This is important. So here BA comes in picture, product owner comes in picture, or customer comes in picture because they think you have done your part very well. You certify, so now they're going to do testing. And then normally it will go to production. Before this, they also do security testing, performance testing, security testing, performance testing, like that type of different type of testing happen. Now, question is, listen carefully. Question is, you're going to spend a lot of time here, lot of time. This is called QA environment. Speak with me. QA environment means developer has certified that everything is working. Then you get it. So here you're going to do all testing. Now, when you do all testing here, you spend a lot of time. Now, when you go here in UAT, you may not going to do all testing because you are certified. So from here to here, there is no change. Same thing is moving, which we call same binary. Speak with me. Same binary. Same binary means whatever they have tested, that is the same code is going. So here they are going to do something called smoke testing or sanity testing. Sanity testing. Now you say, what is this means? So think about, you have done thorough testing, but then at the last minute, I also want to test bare minimum. Most critical part is working or not. The most critical part working, then I assume everything will work. So example, Amazon.com, the most critical part is product search, but I can test everything in my QA environment. But when I go to next level, I'll pick something which is most important. I need to test it out, but time it will take less. In QA, I spend 2 weeks, but in UAT, I may be able to do in 2 hours. So I will pick most critical test cases and then I'll test, which is called smoke testing. Why? Because I want to check it out before I invite customer, yes or no. Because if smoke test fail, it means I need to go back. Something is wrong. Do you guys agree or not? Would you invite customer without testing? Answer is no. You have to test it. You guys agree or not? So people may ask, why do I need to do smoke testing or sanity test? So as you're going through multiple environments, you don't want to repeat multiple time effort because in QA you spend 2 weeks. If you invest 2 weeks, it will take months to go to the production. Yes or no? So what you do thorough job in QA environment. And then other jobs, smoke test you do in other environment, UAT environment, performance environment, security environment, and production environment. You just do smoke test. You don't do thorough testing. Why? Because the first time you did thorough testing, in QA, whatever you do, it has to be thorough. Then you can confidently say that everything is good. So example, when I'm teaching you, I'm going to do thorough testing, yes or no? I'm going to do a good job in teaching. But let's say tomorrow you have an interview. Will I be spending 4 months or 4 minutes or 10 minutes? How much I'm going to, piece of advice? How many minutes I will use? 10 minutes. You guys agree or not? So that's called sanity. Before interview, I give you tips. That's a sanity. So make sure. But I don't have time to teach you 4 months, right? Because we want to go faster. Make sense? Can you do smoke test without regression testing?
No.
Answer is yes for other environment. So other environment, you mostly do smoke testing. But in QA, you must do regression. So regression you do here, but other environment, you normally do smoke testing. If it pass, you invite customer. If pass, you invite other, like that. Make sense? The purpose of smoke testing and sanity testing is quickly certify. Question?
So regression testing is only implemented when there are
QA.
changes.
Of course, yes.
If there are no changes,
Then you don't need to test anything, right? Because you are already tested, right? Only thing goes in production which you tested. So if you have thorough tested, integration test, thorough tested, then there is no need to check anything again. Somebody said, right, if you did not add anything, you don't have to test, right? So far, so good. Smoke test, sanity test, clear. Now there is another test called alpha test and beta test. This is also a very popular question in interview. Remember, I always tell people, and I want to be very honest with you, those who make like a food at house or tea or coffee at house, I want to give you a small example. When you make sure you boil the water, yes or no? If you're making tea or food, you boil water. And then you add all the things. And then after a certain time, things will become much better. So, for example, if you boil water like 60 degree, 70 degree, 80 degree, 90 degree, nothing will happen. As soon as water gets 99 degree, steam starts happening, right? Super duper energy happens, right? That is where we need to be like that. We all have 80, 90 degree. Many of you are good educated, you have good intention, you know speak good, you have good personality, you're already 90 degree. But that last 9 degree takes only 4 months. But we as a human, we don't put that effort in the last 9 degree. So what happened? The steam does not come out from water. You're just boiling. I want this, I want this, I want this. So boiling doesn't get anything. We need to have steam come out, which is called energy and productivity. All steam engine, you heard about it, the train, steam engine, or those people are using cookers or pressure cooker, right? Those are steam. Steam makes magic. So if you pay attention and fully energetic, the steam will come out. I can give you guarantee in 4 months. But if you're not energetic, and if you are doubting yourself and all, then you remain in boiling water. I can tell you honestly, I've been teaching for many years. Boiling water has no value. All value has a steam. Ask people who are having a train in the morning, right? Steam has a super duper power. We need to go to the steam, and these are steam will come because each and every question you understand, then steam comes. If you attend the training and you don't understand this word, you're boiling. Boiling water doesn't have meaning. Make sense? Coming back. What is alpha test and what is beta test? So please understand. Alpha testing, you do yourself. You do yourself. Listen carefully. Who does? QA does. Alpha test QA does. And once they does, and then say everything looks good, then they invite customer to your company. They invite customer to your company. The customer come and test yourself. So example, when I was working for Chrysler, we used to do Dodge, Mopar and all, right? All those Dodge is a car company, Chrysler and all. When we do our work, then customer really fly and come to our place and they do check airbag, they check brake, they check steering, they do. So that testing is called alpha testing. So in alpha testing, first thing what we do, our QA people will test it. If everything is good, then we call customer. So customer will fly and come to our place. Which place? Development place. And then they will test it. That is called alpha testing. Alpha testing, who does? Customer test. But they also have to come to the development place. Make sense or not? Are you understanding? So think about that. If you are preparing a food, right? For me, just like example, you are preparing food at your house, but then you say, come and taste it out. So if I come to your house, it's alpha testing. But you prepare the food, and you bring the food to my place. And if I taste, it's called beta testing. So beta testing happens only after alpha. So first you prepare a food, you invite me to come to your house. When I taste it, good, alpha test pass. When you deliver the food, and if I taste at my place, it's a beta testing. If you have problem in alpha testing, it's easy to fix because you're still in kitchen. Yes or no? If you have problem in a beta testing, I have to send food back. Yes or no? In that case, a lot of money loss will happen. A lot of time waste, a lot of resource waste. So how would you do good job that beta test always pass? What would you do?
Make sure alpha test pass.
Make not only alpha, make sure regression pass, make sure other tests pass. Then you do alpha, invite customer, see the customer, check everything, and listen to customer. If customer has some suggestion, make sure you fix in alpha. Don't do beta test. Don't skip alpha testing. Do you guys agree on that? And that is where the problem starts. Many people do wrong. They skip certain testing. Quality you never compromise. Listen carefully. In your interview, people ask, can you cut the quality? No. You can change the type of testing. Rather than running regression hundreds of times, maybe you can do smoke testing. Maybe you can do sanity testing certain case. That is fine, but you have to do thorough job in QA. If you don't do thorough job in QA and everywhere you do, it's not going to work. So make sure you know what to do, when to do. If somebody asks, should we just do beta testing? Your answer should be no. We should do alpha testing first because customer come and check and then you do beta testing. Clear? Are we clear with alpha and beta? Yes.
So the alpha versus beta, the testing, are you talking about test environment or are you talking about physically customer coming?
Physically they come. Normally they come physically. Yeah, they come physically. Nowadays, if they are not available physically, then you have to provide remote access. You need to provide, but they will come. Trust me, we do travel. We do often travel. They also come because this is a normal practice. This is not like a new practice. This is normal practice. Customer like to come in person. Those who are knowing Scrum, right? Sprint demo. What is sprint demo? Customer is sitting next to you. That is where they come and sit next to you. And then they will observe, they will take a lunch with you. They will see your practices. That's why it is. So that's why in-person meeting is very important, right? Any other questions? Are we clear with alpha, beta? Okay, coming back. So now you have done integration testing, you did alpha testing, you did all. So there is another called NFR. So let's go to NFR. So where did my NFR went? Yeah, here. So click on NFR and we'll do insert child. Insert child. And here we'll say performance testing. So performance testing means, listen carefully, performance testing. So here you do insert child. Performance testing means, like example, Google. Do you guys agree Google is used by almost anywhere in the world, right? Yes or no? So Google search, how many people at single time they're accessing Google? Million, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million? How many? Approximately 100 million. Let's assume 100 million. So as a QA, you need to create an environment, QA environment. You need to create a QA environment where you test Google search with 100 million users. 100 million users. Why? Because in real life, 100 million people are going to access, then you have to do that type of performance testing. Make sense or no? So performance testing is an environment, just like a dev environment, just like a QA environment, just like a UAT environment. There will be a performance environment, will be there in company, where you will create a load. Load in the sense of how many customers at single point of time use my system. So example, if you are right now IT expert, how many students are online? Maybe 15, 20. So that is my load. But when I teach Agile Scrum, I have 50 students are online. When I do some kind of conference, 100 students are online. So my load, maximum load is what? 100. So I should be testing 120. Why should I test 120? Because it is possible it may go 120. So if normal load is 50 million, but in such some kind of thing, like example, Super Bowl or example, election night, Load is increasing, yes or no? So you have to consider that load and you have to test it in your performance environment. Who does that? Performance tester. Who tests that? Performance tester. So how does performance tester knows that I need to test with 100 million users? Maybe requirement. Who collects the requirement? Business owner. But let's say he or she did not collect the requirement. We have to use our common sense, yes or no? Black Friday is the night, whatever time frame, most of the people are doing search. Black Friday, Best Buy, Target, their sites goes down. Why? So they have not done a good performance testing. Amazon site doesn't go down. Why? They did a good performance testing. Obamacare, in case if you have heard about Obamacare, when they came in 2014, right? The day the site came, within 1 hour, it went down. Why? 10 million people started accessing. It crashed. In COVID-19, 2019, there was a PPP, in case many of you know, PPP means like a special type of loan that was 14,000, you can get free from government. So I try to apply, I can't apply, it's crashing because they did not have enough non-functional testing. Make sense or not? You value, you provide. Somebody tested, then site should have worked, yes or no? So when you are doing the testing, you need to ask question, how many users will be accessing this site on a regular basis? And based on that, you can create a load. Maybe start with maybe 10 million. Then ramp up, speak with me, ramp up to 50 million. Then ramp up to 70 million. Then ramp up to 100 million. In 1 second, you will not have 100 million. Do you agree or not? It's a ramp up, slowly goes up. Yes or no? And then keep like for maybe 2-3 hours. Why 2-3 hours? Why not 2-3 days?
Slowly.
No. After 100 million, I'll keep it for 2-3 hours. Why not 2-3 days or weeks or months?
Because it usually doesn't sees that much of load in a normal day. Like it's
Not-
only, for example,
Not like that. Think this differently. How many of you spend 2-3 hours in Google instantly, same time? Yes or no? I spend 5 minutes, then close it, and then again 5 minutes, then again 5 minutes. But continuously do 2-3 hours. This is called real-time load. Speak with me. Don't do artificial, because 100 million might be there, but they might be for a 1 minute or 2 minutes. Yes or no? We are testing for 1 hour. It's good enough. Yes or no? It's good enough. But Amazon test, they might be testing longer. Because people keep searching, they're adding the item. So they have to do the test a little bit longer than Google. Because Google, people don't stay with Google for a long period of time. YouTube, when YouTube search, they might need to test longer. If you are watching movie, Netflix, right? They have to test longer because they have 2-3 hours window. Do you guys agree? So instead of 2-3 hours, like me, in Christmas night time, I watch three videos straight. So 9 hours I'm in Netflix, right? So they have to consider that thing. That's called real-time load. Speak with me.
Real-time.
Makes sense? Are you understanding ramp up means? Gradually you add customers. Make sense? These are all you can do during QA environment. This is called virtual user. Speak with me. Virtual user. Because you're not going to bring 10 million people from the world, right? You're going to create virtual user. And this type of testing normally people do in a load tester. Load tester. So HP has a tool called load tester. Load tester. So I'm going to write down. So click here and do insert. There are two software people use, load tester and JMeter. So this is the tool people use, load tester and JMeter. Load tester is like paid version, very nice software, but 70,000-80,000 that cost. JMeter is free version. So if you want to do certain tests, you can do JMeter. Performance testing, good. Any question on performance testing? Right. Now you can click on performance test and press enter, and we'll do security testing. So please understand, if you click here and press enter, automatically you get a sibling, right? You click here, and then press enter, you get a sibling, security testing. So in security testing, you try to hack your system. If you can able to hack it, then you have to fix those. Do you guys agree or not? So nowadays, there is a special type of thing people do security. There is a word called penetration testing. Speak with me. Penetration testing. Penetration testing means you penetrate. Means without username and password, can I get in? Right? That's called security testing. Make sense or no? So security testing you should do in order to avoid any hijack. Because if somebody hijack your data or hijack your user information, then there is a problem. Make sense or no? Now, in a functional testing, there is another thing called click on use case and press enter. Click on use case and press enter. Sorry, yeah, we can do that. Click on use case and press enter. And here you do static testing. Static testing means if somebody write a code, you just test it out the code. Did they hardcode username? Did they hardcode password? Did they hardcode link? Did they did anything wrong? So there are software available. They just check your Java code. You don't have to do anything. It automatically tests it out, which is called static analysis or static analysis testing. Some people call SAT, static application testing. So you don't have to do anything. Just run a program and it will tell you, do you have a problem or not? If there is a problem, they call vulnerability. Means there's an issue. You have to fix it. Make sense? So static testing. And here in a security, you do dynamic software application testing. Dynamic means a program is running. Your program is running and you try to hack it. Your program is running and you try to hack it. Make sense? All those testings, people will ask you a couple of questions in your interview. All those things you should know about, and that's why homework. That's the reason there is a video and there is other information available. Any question, concerns down? Any questions? Right? So if somebody asks about like what is white box testing, what is black box testing, are we clear? What is alpha testing? What is beta testing? What is functional testing? What is non-functional testing? Performance testing versus regression testing, integration testing. These are must understood. Because if you do not understand this aspect, then we have a problem. Because in your interview, people will ask questions. Yes.
Can you explain the static application testing?
Static application code testing means if you write a code, right? You write a 10-line code, right? And in 10-line code, you write username equal to this, password equal to this. It will create a problem. You cannot hardcode password, right? Because if somebody sees that, then they can bypass you, right? So you should never write your credit card detail, password, your certain things where people can hijack your machine. Nowadays, it's very popular. People write this thing for simplicity, especially the college fresher. When they don't know the coding, they write that just to get through. And then this information will go into production. Yes or no? Like example, SSN. Somebody write SSN, or somebody log SSN, or somebody log credit card. So those kind of things it will easily capture. Or they might have a program. We cut and paste the program. Many people do cut and paste the program. When you cut and paste the program, there might be URL, which it does, it takes your log and send it to their server. And that's called security violation, right? So static analysis testing will capture those things. So it will help you to fix it. Majority company does this thing through CI/CD pipeline. So CI/CD pipeline means those who are doing Jenkins, those like a Thursday class, in CI/CD pipeline, you can add one test additional, which is called static testing, just to see what are the tests fail for static aspect. Means did we write username, password, hardcoded? Did we hardcode the credit card? Did we hardcode the social security like that? Make sense?
Jenkins is the tool.
There are many tools, like you can use a lot of tools, but Jenkins now we are not going in what we call DevOps, but you can use Jenkins, you can use Terraform. There are tons of tools available for that also. But time being, our first topic is just completed. Any difficulty here? Right? We have not written test cases. We'll do test cases right part next week. So if I ask QA should fight with BA, is that a good thing?
No.
Can QA start before BA starts? QA and BA work together.
Yes.
What BA does, they write use case.
Use
What
case.
QA does, test case. BA also does one testing, and that testing is called UAT testing. Speak with me. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. BA does testing behalf of customer. They do want testing. So some job require BA should know QA. And people say, do I need to take an entire QA class? Not at all. You just need to know UAT. You don't need to know, because when they UAT, they do actually white box / black box testing, because they don't need to know in and out. So they mostly do high level testing. They will do testing all, but they don't need to know how internal works. Make sense or not? So like example, if I sit in a car and if I try to check all the buttons, I'm doing functional testing. Make sense or not? But when I am a mechanic, I open the hood and see engine, see the brake, see the fluid, see the transmitter, see this, then I'm doing non-functional testing. Make sense? When you drive the car, you're doing functional testing. When you are checking engine, transmissions and all, then you're doing non-functional. You need to do both testing in order to certify the car. Make sense? So let's take a small break.